Hello and welcome to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine, the Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police Indianapolis District. The Roadshow is brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, visit www.indianasfinest.com. As always, thank you to the man behind the camera, Mr. Tom Trial, for putting us on YouTube. Check out the Indiana State Police YouTube channel. Just go on YouTube, type in Indiana State Police, and you will see so many cool videos, along with all the great road shows that we've put on there as well, so you can catch up on any ones that you've missed. Kind of like DVR for the road show.
There you go.
Hey, so our guest today, Chief PIO Captain Ron Galvez from the Indiana State Police. Thanks
for having me.
Always a pleasure to see you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And a longtime friend, Indiana State Trooper, all the way from Sellersburg Post, is Master Trooper Phil Hensley. Thanks
John, it's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Finally, we've been trying to do this for like a year now.
We've been trying to set this up for a while, so finally it's worked out. I'm glad to be here.
And so what we tried to do is we wanted to bring people in from some of these other districts because I talk about my experience here in Indianapolis, but working some of these other districts is a completely different experience. So all the way down in Sellersburg, let's just kind of start geographically. Where is Sellersburg? What counties do you cover?
Sellersburg consists of 5 counties, Harrison, Floyd, Clark, Scott, and Washington. It may seem geographically like a smaller district, but it's the population density, the highways we have going through. It's situated just north of Louisville, Kentucky. So a lot of the city departments along the river will call it North Louisville. I mean, it's kind of how it's attributed and referenced, but just in Floyd and Clark counties, and I kind of looked this up. I was curious when I had transferred over. Between the cities of New Albany and Floyd County, Clarksville and Jeffersonville in Clark County, the population is well over 100,000 people.
Wow.
So it's a very, and that's just 3 cities right there on the river. It's a very busy, very populated area just there, but you do have the traditional rural, sort of the hometown feel counties in Harrison and Scott and Washington. So
you guys essentially have the extremes of both. You have very populated, very busy highways and very rural, very isolated.
It's very diverse, yes, and it certainly keeps us on our toes.
So you said something. So I can always tell people that are from the area because apparently I don't say Louisville right. Apparently it's Louisville.
Oh,
right?
you will get in trouble for saying it wrong down there.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I heard you say it.
Yes. You hear Louisville, Louisville. It's Louisville.
It's Louisville.
Kind of
just kind of rolls right off your tongue.
And if you don't say it right, you will reap the benefits of it, I promise.
Yeah. So I think I've driven through there several times, and it seems like the last, 20 miles or so of I-65 in Indiana is quite congested often, and so you spend a lot of time out there patrolling and investigating some serious crashes.
Right. I-65 goes to a 3-lane right around the Memphis exit. That's exit 16 to the bridge. For example, yesterday, Louisville Metro worked a 5 semi-truck crash on the bridge southbound. Was down to 1 lane, so we had I-65 southbound almost shut down for miles and miles for almost 6 or 7 hours. So there are events that can happen that can certainly tie up because we do have a lot of flow, people going back and forth into Kentucky or vice versa. It'll keep us on our toes, certainly.
Yeah, and Sellersburg's quite far from Indianapolis, Captain, but, when people become an Indiana State Trooper, and to put a plug in, we're certainly looking for hiring Indiana State Troopers. If you know anybody interested, I would steer them to our website, indianatrooper.org. Is that .org, right?
Yep.
All the information about our hiring process in any corner of the state. We're looking for Indiana State Troopers. But the diversity of things that we're able to do as Indiana State Troopers within police work is apparent in Sellersburg, just like it is most other districts.
It is. And, having spent the entirety of my career mostly in Fort Wayne, very similar because right near 2 different state lines, Michigan and Ohio, have a large metropolitan area in Fort Wayne, but then you quickly get outside and it's very rural, very, like you said, just what you think of, small hometowns in Indiana. And for somebody that wants to be a full, well-rounded police officer, those are the districts you want to go to because you have an opportunity you can stop cars, work crashes, and then 10 minutes later, you're being sent to a call in a rural county, and you're taking on an investigation from beginning to end. And so you have an opportunity to really hone your communication skills, your investigatory skills, and of course your ticket writing skills too, which is very important. But when it comes to be a well-rounded police officer, I think that's kind of where, as an agency, we continue to hang our hat because it's on-the-job training. I mean, certainly the academy, of course, but the things that we're immersed in, just I think it speaks for itself. And on the national level, I mean, you see the investigations that our agency is involved in, very deeply right now, is attributed to the skill set of the individuals that are embarked upon those.
So do you guys work like a county basis or a zone or?
Mostly it's a county basis.
Yeah.
Clark and Floyd operates as a zone. That's what I work.
Okay.
Harrison County has its individual zone, if
Squad,
you will.
Yeah.
Scott and Washington counties will shuffle troops back and forth kind of along the State Road 56 corridor, since that runs through both. But we kind of break it up to make it to where we have majority of our troopers covering where the majority of our traffic is, the majority of our highway calls. But then we have more of our quote unquote rural troopers that are better equipped to and more relied on by the local agencies to. Now I will say, and I got to give them a shout, the law enforcement in Clark and Floyd counties almost could get by without us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put us down, but their agencies are so top notch and well staffed that they certainly respond to their calls, and we're almost as an assist role if they have calls and things to go out and we need to help them.
So what can a typical shift look like for you? You work a day shift, you come out early in the morning, probably spend rush hour on the highway, and then what? Right.
So I would come on at 6 a.m. Certainly you've got your morning commute traffic that's stacking the roads up. We'd be looking at disabled vehicles, so we'd be assisting motorists, Hoosier Helpers. The NDOT section of Hoosier Helper does a great job of assisting us with that as well. We'd be responding to crashes. Ideally, they would just kind of be fender benders. We don't really see too many serious crashes in the morning. So it's mostly assist motorist crashes, and then the patrol aspect of slowing people down and trying to make sure that the commute to work is safe. Once we get past that rush, then it's more open roads and people are kind of, doing certain things out
That's
there.
When you can pull into your hiding spot and start snagging.
That's when you get busy with the traffic aspect of it, trying to slow people down to prevent those bigger crashes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we do believe that there's a direct correlation between traffic enforcement and the reduction of crashes on the roadway, and we see that. So that's sort of our midday focus rolling into the afternoon hours. By 2:30, 3 o'clock, traffic's starting to pick up again. You start seeing the backups. That's when you start having your rear-ended crashes, side swipes, which can potentially, if the speeds are intense enough, kind of progress into more serious crashes.
Yeah.
So from a highway aspect, that's what we're really focused on 64, 65, and 265.
And so, I mean, it seems like I see the ops reports often for crashes that close down the interstate down there. So certainly a large volume of traffic. I mean, kind of, if you need to go from anywhere in the Midwest, anywhere in the South, you're probably coming through Louisville.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Louisville itself having 264, 265, 64, 65, 71. They've got a significant interstate structure on their own, which spills into us. So when we do have a crash and we have lane closures, our goal is to make sure we get those, obviously take care of who's involved in the crash, investigate the crash thoroughly, but get those lanes open so we don't have secondary crashes following out.
Yeah, I think oftentimes people, and it's oftentimes what they see is what they believe. Their perception is reality, but it is, by the time they get there, we almost had the scene clean. And they're like, I just sat in traffic for 2 hours for this. And what they didn't see is 10 minutes ago, we had semis everywhere and debris and all that. But I think sometimes that's hard. But we do want people to know that our priority is to get that road open. We're not just sitting there, playing games. We're trying to, but a lot of times it takes a lot of time. And the investigation is a priority, of course.
Right. It does. On a regular day, though, aside from the heavy traffic and things, we've got an investigative squad that I consider top-notch. I would not want to commit a crime in the Sellersburg District. Yeah. They're busy taking investigations, everything's from burglaries, child offenses, up to homicides. They are very good at what they do. And it goes back to what the captain was saying. When you take a district like this that has a good mix of metro and rural, you become that full, well-rounded trooper, and the opportunities to expand on what you like to do are more prevalent in those type of districts. So it's certainly a selling point. You're interested in applying to the state police, be sure to put down Sellersburg as your district of choice.
Yeah.
We would love to have you down.
And I know that Superintendent Carter really weighs heavily on trying to get people back home or close to their home. So oftentimes you hear people say, well, if you're a trooper, you have to be willing to live anywhere you want. Well, sometimes that's true out of the academy that they can put you. But I've never heard of an instance where they're like, hey, we need you, John Prine, in Sellersburg, so pack up your family and go. Right. So I think there's this perception that we get moved around kind of like military, and that's just not true.
We want you to become part of that community.
Yeah.
We want you to, hey, you're a state trooper. You live here. You're an element of your community with your, the people you work and live with. So I think we want to drive home that we want you to stay here. We want you to become known positively in your community, in your area, build those relationships, build that trust. If we're pulling people, every 6 months, you would never have those relationships. Right. And that would be horrible.
And we haven't done that. I mean, for decades. Right. I mean, that is an old practice. And, and to your point, Phil, it's, when you get embedded in your community, now you're coaching your little league teams. You're becoming members of your school board, or these other vitally important facets of what it makes to be a good community member. So, it's not unusual to see a state trooper doing those things, being in those leadership positions by nature of not only who they are, but what they do.
Right.
Yeah, and again, we're always plugging our recruiting section, but if you're listening to the show, if you're watching the show on YouTube, and you think, hey, I think my neighbor would be a great Indiana State Trooper, my nephew, my grandson, my son, my daughter-in-law, anybody, certainly put them in touch with us, because it might surprise them what we have available within our agency to do. Because some people say, well, I want to be a crime scene investigator. I watch the TV shows. I want to be a CSI. We have that.
Right.
I want to be a SWAT operator. I watch those shows. Yeah. We have that. Scuba diving. We have that. Motorcycle patrol. We have that. So certainly something worth looking into if you have an interest in law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, our guest is Master Trooper Phil Hensley from the Sellersburg District, all the way in southeast Indiana, down by the river, by Louisville.
Right? That's right.
The best of both worlds down there. But something else that I find fascinating about Phil is his passion for weather.
Oh.
And Phil is right now studying in his downtime, off time, to become a weatherman.
I'm there. My first degree was in electrical engineering, so I had sort of the science engineering background. My wife and I were talking. She's in news. We're talking about how at the time her station needed a meteorologist, and she said, I think you'd make a really good meteorologist. And the gears started turning, and I didn't let it go at all from there. So I do have my degree in meteorology. I am in the process of working to do some freelance for some stations in a station in Louisville, and in grad school now working on my master's in applied meteorology. So
very
it's
cool.
It's
Looking
very
for life
neat.
After ISP, right? You're
That's
about
right.
6 or 7 years from retirement.
That's right. So it's you can have a very fulfilling career with the state police, but you're still a young person when it's time to move on. So to have something else very positive, and the way I see it as well, law enforcement is a public service. Providing accurate weather for folks is a public service as well. So I think it's kind of continuing that trend within me of doing the public service for folks.
So we can't make any of the jokes, Captain, about, weathermen only right 50% of the time.
I've heard it all. Yeah. Great, thanks.
I think it's cool because I also am fascinated by weather. I like, to study it and watch it and read about it. But I think it's neat that you're going to have the ability to warn folks.
Storm chasing, severe weather. Severe weather is my passion, and I'm very good at forecasting that. Snowy weather, I'm pretty good at that as well. So
you get snow in southern Indiana?
We do.
A couple sunny and 75 down there.
Well,
state law.
That's like 363 days a year. There's two where we kind of may have a little inclement snow, but yeah. So it's a very kind of fun thing, to potentially move from this job on.
Well, Phil, we certainly appreciate you making the 2-hour drive up this morning to share with us kind of just what is the Sellersburg District? We probably have retired troopers that listen to the show that are from Sellersburg. You'd love to have them stop by, visit the post, hang out, come have a sandwich.
It's the command staff, everything there. Tremendous post. Absolutely love it.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming. Thank you, Captain, for being on, and we will talk to everybody next time.